What's good, YouTubers and YouTubettes? This is JBsports back again with another one. Gervonta Tank Davis, who is the WBA lightweight champion, got elevated from regular WBA champion to full status of WBA lightweight champion. He has taken a lot of arrows in his career. A lot of people have been shitting on his resume. A lot of people say he's a step above an influencer, step above a YouTube fighter. Just going in on Gervonta Tank Davis. But what they don't know is they going in on a cash cow in the face of boxing. Make no mistake about it. We got Canelo Alvarez fanboys out here saying that Canelo Alvarez is the face of boxing. But if you look at the numbers of 2023, those numbers beg to differ. Canelo Alvarez's best numbers on pay-per-view for 2023. We're looking at two pay-per-view stars in Canelo Alvarez and Gervonta Tank Davis. Now, Canelo Alvarez versus Jermell Charlo did 650,000 pay-per-view buys, which wasn't even the second highest grossing revenue-generating fight of 2023. It was the third, actually, behind Errol Spence Jr. versus Terrence Crawford, which did 700,000 pay-per-view buys. But sitting at the top of the mountain, there's Gervonta Tank Davis versus Ryan Garcia, which did 1.2 million pay-per-view buys. Now, you got some people out here saying it did 1.5, or my source is telling me it did 1.2, which is far above Spence versus Crawford and Canelo versus Jermell Charlo. With all that being said, Conor Benn, one of the UK's brightest stars, has been linked to a potential matchup versus Gervonta Tank Davis. When I first read that report, I just bust out laughing. Never took it seriously. That fight was never going to happen. Tank Davis is with the PBC. Conor Benn is with Eddie Hearn, the Puff Daddy of boxing promoters, always in the video. And he was in the video saying that he sent Gervonta Tank Davis an offer in the neighborhood of $10 to $15 million. That's a lot of money. That's big time money. Make no mistake about it. But the problem with that offer is it's like half of what he made in his last fight versus Ryan Garcia. He made $30 million fighting Ryan Garcia. And I think to even get him to look at the offer seriously, you got to bring at least $20 million guaranteed. $20 million minimum guarantee. But Eddie Hearn couldn't produce that. He couldn't do that. He don't have the cachet financially to put up that type of number. Now, that fight was going to take place if it happened in the U.S. Now, why in the hell would Gervonta Tank Davis versus Conor Benn be in the U.S.? Conor Benn has no U.S. profile. He has no name recognition here in the U.S. He has no name ID. He's a nobody. Nobody, baby. Nobody. He's a nobody. I ain't hating on the man, but nobody know him. How the hell you going to put that fight in the U.S.? Now, I understand he can't fight in the UK because he's banned from the UK. Like, remember that song by Bruce Springsteen? Banned in the USA. Well, Conor Benn is banned in the UK. I was banned in the UK. Yeah, he banned, man. Man was found with multiple PEDs in his system. So he cannot fight in the UK, his home country. The BBBOC say hell to the now if you talking about putting on a Conor Benn fight. We ain't having it. He is dirty. He is a guy that since he's been found out to have PEDs in his system, since that post-PED situation, he has not had the power. He has not had the pop on his punches. He has not had the explosiveness that he had before then. He's still landing those same combinations, but they're not doing nearly the damage they did before he was found out as a PED drug user, allegedly. With all that being said, Gervonta Tank Davis versus Conor Benn was cap. It was fugazi. It was propaganda once again by Eddie Hearn. It was clout chasing by Eddie Hearn. Conor Benn wanted to make the fight happen. He's a true warrior. He's a true fighter. That would be the biggest name on his resume, Gervonta Tank Davis. But you talking about a guy that fighted at 135 pounds. Conor Benn in his last two fights been fighting at the junior middleweight division of 154 pounds. He's been coming in a little less than that, but anything over 147 is junior middleweight. And he's been fighting at 152 and fights like that, catch weights. So he's basically been fighting at junior middleweight. So how in the hell would he be wanting to fight a lightweight? Of course, people tell JB Sports, well, shit, he want to fight Gervonta Tank Davis because he's the face of boxing. He's a cash cow of the sport. He'll be his highest purse if he get the win over Gervonta Tank Davis. That'll catapult his career. That'll get him not only popping in the UK, but popping in the US. And that would make him one of the biggest names in the sport of boxing if he's able to secure a victory over Gervonta Tank Davis. But Conor Benn brings nothing to the table. Conor Benn does not bring the financial gains coming off a $30 million payday in his last fight versus Ryan Garcia. He doesn't bring that type of cachet. So why in the hell would Gervonta Tank Davis fight him when he got big names in the 135-pound division where he campaigns at? And he'll be taking on Frank Martin, an undefeated southpaw contender out of Indianapolis. And I said that backwards. Indianapolis, Indiana. Frank the Ghost Martin, undefeated, top 5 lightweight. That fight's going to be going down May 26th is from what I'm hearing. My sources telling me it's going to be May 26th. And that'll be going down Memorial Day weekend. Memorial Day will be that Monday, May 27th. And the fight will be going down May 26th on a Sunday. Rare occurs boxing matches of this magnitude taking place on a Sunday. But Gervonta Tank Davis has fought on a Sunday previously. He took on Isaac Pitbull Cruz in December 2021. That fight took place on a Sunday, which was a bad move in my opinion by Mayweather Promotions. Why would you put that fight on a Sunday during football season? That fight went head up with NFL Sunday Night Football, and that was the main reason why that fight did horrible pay-per-view numbers. I think it did around 61,000 pay-per-view buys, according to many outlets. Nah, I don't think it did. I think it did 61,000 homes, but when you add in the digital pay-per-view numbers, it did around 200,000 pay-per-view buys. So it did some good numbers. That's the thing about these outlets, man. People like Rick Glazer, they saying the fight did 61,000. They telling half the story. They're not telling the whole story. You know, you got the it's not the old way of counting pay-per-view numbers, just counting the household numbers. You got the household numbers and you got the digital numbers. As Showtime Boxing at that time was on a digital pay-per-view. And when you total it all up, it did around 200,000 pay-per-view buys. Now, it didn't do great numbers like the fight after that when he took on Rolly Romero, which did 275,000 pay-per-view buys. That's households. And then when you put the digital, it did in the 400,000 range. So it didn't do as good as numbers as that fight did, but it did good numbers. And Gervonta Tank Davis, based on what he did versus Ryan Garcia, is the face of boxing currently. I ain't in the business of giving lifetime achievement awards. You know, you want to say Canelo Alvarez is the face of boxing. Based on 2023, he's not the face of boxing. He did 650,000 pay-per-view buys versus Jermell Charlo. Tank did 1.2 million pay-per-view buys versus Ryan Garcia. Now, a lot of people say, wait a minute, what was Ryan Garcia bringing in the numbers? Ryan Garcia has a huge following on social media. Well, Ryan Garcia hadn't did a pay-per-view before he fought Tank, and he ain't done a pay-per-view since he fought Tank. Tank had always established himself before the Ryan Garcia fight as a pay-per-view star. As the numbers I just showed you, that I just gave you, when he took on Isaac Pitbull Cruz, Rolando Rolly Romero. He took it on future Hall of Fame fighter Leo Santa Cruz, and that fight was during the pandemic, and that fight did 220,000 pay-per-view buys when that fight took place in the Alamo Dome in San Antonio, Texas, home of the Alamo. And that fight did good numbers considering the circumstances. So with all that being said, Gervonta Tank Davis will be taking on Frank Martin. The negotiations between Gervonta Tank Davis and Conor Benn, which was going down before the fight got finalized with Gervonta Tank Davis and Frank Martin, was never gonna happen. Too many obstacles in the way of that fight ever seriously having a chance to come to fruition. Make no mistake about it. It was never gonna happen. It was cap. It was clout chasing by Eddie Hearn, the Puff Daddy of boxing promoters. Always in the video, and he was in the video saying that he sent a contract to Gervonta Tank Davis. and it was estimated the contract was going to be for $10 to $15 million. Gervonta Tank Davis leaked the contract on his social media page, on his Twitter page, and it indeed was for $10 million, and it was for a fight to take place in the U.S. And Gervonta Tank Davis went in on Eddie Hearn and called him a spoon-fed white boy that trying to mess over me in the negotiations, trying to pay me $10 million in a fight, in his opinion, that was going to generate 3 or 4 times more than that, and which would have made Eddie Hearn and Matchroom Boxing a lot of money, but would have left the principal person behind the success of the fight, Gervonta Tank Davis, the A side, getting crumbs up under the table. And he wasn't having it. He wasn't having it. So that fight never was serious. It never was serious. Even if Eddie Hearn could have came up with $20 million, I think it would have taken at least a guaranteed minimum of $20 million for Gervonta Tank Davis to seriously consider that proposal. 10 to 15, he was never going to consider that. The man made $30 million in his last fight. How the hell you going to offer him $10 million? He was saying it was $10 million with pay-per-view upside, but come on, man. Conor Benn ain't got no kind of drawing interest here in the U.S. No drawing power here in the U.S. at all. At all. Got no name recognition here in the U.S. So you saying even if Gervonta Davis with his drawing power, maybe the fight do. I just say the fight with the U.S. and the U.K. market. Let's just say the U.S. market. We ain't worried about the U.K. market. That money gonna be, for Conor Benn. I would assume that Gervonta Tank Davis is gonna get a percentage of the UK pay-per-view numbers too. But just say with the U.S. and the UK market, that fight do 500,000 pay-per-view buys, and you got to pay Gervonta Tank Davis at least what he made in his last fight, $30 million. And then you got to pay Conor Benn his money. Maybe Conor Benn get $5 million. That's $35 million right off the top. And you're going to have to pay the undercard fighters, and everybody got to get their slice of the pie. Promoters, managers, undercard fighters, the trainers, the platforms say it would have been on the zone. They want their cut. So you got a whole lot of people got to get broke off. And for the fight to take place in the U.S., which I think would have minimized the potential of the fight doing better numbers in the UK. And he can't fight in the UK. He banned in the UK. The fight just was not financially viable for Gervonta Tank Davis. He can make much more money taking on Frank Martin, an undefeated fighter. It's gonna be an in-house fight. He'll be able to play Frank Martin much less than what he would have had to pay Conor Benn, because Frank ain't gonna ask for no more than probably maybe $2 million. And then Tank can make, can get his guarantee that he won't, and they can put on a big event. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. But Gervonta Tank Davis versus Conor Benn was capped, was never seriously negotiated. It was some Twitter fingers going on as Conor Benn and Gervonta Tank Davis going back and forth on Twitter. Conor Benn said, "Where's the contract?" And Gervonta Tank Davis told him to be quiet, sit in the corner with the dunce hat on, and let me and your boss negotiate, and we'll let you know when we come to an agreement. Basically sunning Conor Benn. It was all a dog and pony show, basically. It was some good Twitter going back and forth, and it was some stuff that got the UK boxing fans excited, and it got some US boxing fans excited too. But I always looked at it as something that never was seriously going to happen, and I just looked at it as something that Gervonta Tank Davis does time to time. He always goes in and talk about fighting certain fighters, and we all know at the end of the day that fight is not going to happen. He did the same thing with Devin Haney. He did the same thing with who else he did it with? He did it with another fighter, Devin Haney. He went back and forth with trying to see the other fighter name was. He's been linked to several fighters, man. It was at one time they was talking about Gervonta Tank Davis taking on Keith Thurman. Now Gervonta Tank Davis never said nothing about that, but that got leaked out to the boxing fan. People were speculating about that potential matchup, and Gervonta Tank Davis came out on Twitter and said, "What, y'all think I'm Superman, huh? I'm 135 pounds. You want me to move up to 147 pounds and fight one of the most explosive hardest hitting welterweights in that division. Now, he ain't had the power on he ain't had the knockouts that he had earlier in his career when he was fighting those B and C plus level fighters. Now he fighting A and A minus level fighters. The knockouts have not come for keep one time 30, but he still is a explosive puncher. And you asking a guy coming up from lightweight to get in there with one of the most explosive punchers in that division, it was never going to happen. But his name's been linked to several different fighters. I know at the time that him and Shakur Stevenson was being proposed to happen as Team Tank Davis. Took a poll about who should be Gervonta Tank Davis' next opponent, and Shakur Stevenson, I think they flipped a coin. It was out of Shakur and Devin Haney. I think they flipped a coin, or maybe they took a poll or flipped a coin, and whatever the way they decided, whatever type of poll they decided was, Shakur Stevenson was the winner of that poll, or that coin flip, whatever it was, and they was talking about fighting Shakur Stevenson. It was all cap. That's basically what I'm saying. It was all cap. It was all cap. It was all smoke and mirrors. And Gervonta Tank Davis like to kind of go back and forth with fighters on Twitter. You know, he also like to bring up sparring matches of those particular fighters that he's going back and forth on Twitter. But at the end of the day, man, if those fighters are not with the PBC, the fight is not going to happen. And again, we talking about a fight in Conor Benn that's up under Matchroom Boxing, a guy that can't fight in his home country, and a guy that has no name ID in the U.S. You talking about putting on a fight in the U.S. And the fight would do much better in the U.K., and he can't fight in the U.K. because he was found, again, with multiple PDs in this system. So again, you can't never always believe the snake oil salesman in Eddie Hearn. You know, I do believe he did send an offer. You know, Tank Davis verified on his social media page. He took a picture of the offer and put it on his social media page. So yeah, Eddie Hearn definitely sent him an offer, but Eddie Hearn know damn well that fight wasn't gonna happen. But he was clout chasing. You know, he doing what a promoter should do, keeping his trying to build the brand, build a name, build a fame of his one of his youngest, brightest stars in Conor Benn, and that's what he was doing, knowing damn well that Tank Davis wasn't gonna accept no $10 million fight to fight Conor Benn in the U.S. when he can have a higher guarantee and generate more money for his pockets taking on a Frank Martin in a big fight here in the United States on Amazon Prime, one of the biggest platforms in the United States, unlike DAZN. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. Follow me on Facebook, Gerard Briscoe. Before we follow me on Facebook, man, the date for Gervonta Tank Davis to take on Frank Martin will be May 26th. That's what my sources telling me. That will be on a Sunday, Memorial Day weekend. The day before Memorial Day, it'll be Gervonta Tank Davis' second time fighting on a Sunday. And we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. Follow me on Facebook, Gerard Briscoe. Like, share, and subscribe to JB Sports, the man, the myth, the legend. And I holla.